my, have we got some exciting postseason news regarding the AHL? Oh, it has been teased for quite some time. There was a possibility that for next year's Calder Cup, there was the possibility that the league was maybe going to expand a bit further, and well, it has now been confirmed that we will have a larger playoff field come 2022. So, of course, as we know, the AHL does plan to hold a postseason in 2022. So, for the first time in what will be 3 years, we will have a Calder Cup champion. The question of whether or not Charlotte will be dethroned or not is something we could talk about maybe later on down the line. Because under this new form, they've now got I'd say a 70% chance of maybe getting in. Okay, so let's get straight to it. So, a total of 23 teams are going to qualify for the postseason play when the 2021-22 regular season will end on April the 24th, with what will be now 5 rounds of playoffs leading to the crowning of a new Calder Cup champion for the first time since 2019. Unless, of course, it's Charlotte. Although we're praying it's not Charlotte. We're praying it's not Charlotte. Sorry, Charlotte, but I'm sorry. It's time to dethrone you. It's time to dethrone you. Okay, so currently, of course, we've got 31 clubs in the league. Of course, Palm Springs is supposed to be arriving in 22-23, so that number may then change depending on what happens with obviously realignments and everything. That we can talk about probably when we get nearer to 2023. Okay, so in each stage there's 4 divisions. So of course they are Atlantic, North, Central, and Pacific. So in each of those 4 divisions, all but 2 teams will qualify for postseason play in 2022. So basically, for next season, the mindset for your team should be, as long as you don't come 7th or 8th, or if you're in the Barracuda division, as long as you don't come 8th or 9th, you're going to have at least 1 round of postseason action, which is always good, because every team always was meant to playoffs. So you just got at least 1 round. It's great because they can say, well, we win. So the bottom 2 clubs in each 4 divisions, so for the Atlantic, North, and Central, that's hang on, no, it's not. Oh god, we've been in the division alone again. I'm getting confused now because honestly, with this imbalanced league. All right. So Atlantic has 8 teams, North has 7 teams, Central has 7 teams. Right. Okay. Sorry. So in the Atlantic division, as long as you don't come 7th or 8th, you'll go to the playoffs. In the North and Central, as long as you don't come 6th or 7th, you're going to playoffs. And for our division, as long as you don't come 8th or 9th, you're going to playoffs. That's the mindset you're going to need to have throughout the whole next season. As long as you don't come in the bottom 2 spots of your division, you're going to have playoff at hockey, no matter what. Okay, so, right, now we cleared that little hiccup out. And of course, teams will be ranked based on points percentage in the regular season standings. Of course, this season is the last season of an inbound schedule. Thank God for that. From 22-23, all teams will play the exact same amount of games, which is great because it's going to be easier to determine who's got what. So, let's go through things in detail. So, the first round match will be a best of 3. So this is similar to what we had in the Pacific Division Flash Tournament, we call it, that we had this year between our division, which determined who was going to be crowned our division champion, because of course we were the low division that wanted to have the postseason. Or elected to, should I say. Okay, so the top 2 teams in the Atlantic Division, the top 3 teams in each of the North and Central, and the first place team in the Pacific will each receive buys into the division semi-finals, which will of course still be best of 5, as will the division finals. So, if we bring up the alignment again. So, in the Atlantic, if you come in either of the top, first or second, based on points percentage, you will get a bye to the Division semi-finals. In the North and Central, if you come in first, second, or third in division standings, you'll get a bye to the division semi-finals. And whoever finishes first in the Pacific, you'll get a bye in the season standings. You'll get a bye to the division semi-finals, which will leave the rest to compete for the remaining how many spots it is. Mental math is never my strong point, so I'm not going to try and work it out. Okay. So yeah. So it's 3 in the North and Central will get a bye. The top 2 in the Atlantic will get a bye. And the top team in the Pacific will get a bye into the best of 5 division class. With the first round winners, they'll get reseeded in each division. The division finals are also the best of 5, followed by the best of 7 college bars and the best of 7 Calder Cup bars. So basically, Calder Cup playoffs are still as they always have been. So you got division semi-final, division finals, best of 5s, then conference final, best of 7, and obviously the Calder Cup best of 7. So that's still the same. The only difference is there's an extra round before we get to the division semi-finals where you will have more teams in. So yeah, so it means that more teams get to be involved, but obviously it's an extra round to get in. Now, one more thing before I get to my thoughts. The league has stated on their website that the 2022 Calder Cup playoffs are expected to finish by June the 23rd. Okay. Question marks will be whether or not the AHL will already have a Stanley Cup champion by then, because who knows? Right. So yeah. So all they've got a lovely little image on it as well with the news article, so that might help things a bit easier. Let me zoom in on it. So yeah. So let me just recap all that, because I know it got a bit confusing because of the division alignments. So, let me move on sec, folks. Right. So, in the first round, it would be best of 3. Okay, so the team that finishes third in the Atlantic will play the team that finishes 6th in the Atlantic. The team that finishes 4th in the Atlantic play the team that finishes in 5th in the Atlantic. And of course, the winners of those two, they're kind of more like play-ins, really. I don't think I want to call this first round, because I think it is more like a play-in, because obviously, Calder Cup playoffs are basically still as normal, so it's division semis, division finals, conference battle, Calder Cup battle. It's just there's an extra round to give more teams a chance to qualify. So I think the first round really should be called the play-in round, a bit like what we had in the Pacific Division this year. So I can go first. So the play-in round for Atlantic, 3rd in Atlantic plays 6th in Atlantic, 4th in Atlantic plays 5th in Atlantic, and then the winner of those 2 matches get reseeded. One of them will then play the winner. One of those winners will play the team that finished 1st Atlantic, the other will play the team that finished 2nd Atlantic. Now, in the North and Central, there's only really one play-in, and that is determine who plays the first place team in those 2 divisions. Because obviously in North and Central, the teams that finish 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the North and Central divisions will automatically get a bye. So that means that the teams that finish 2nd and 3rd, they'll automatically play each other in the division semi-final. So the North and the Central division first round matches, or plays, whatever you want to call them, they're basically to determine which team will go home and which team is going to have the harder match against the team that finished 1st in the standings. So that's the North and Central. Oh, then in the Pacific, it gets messy. But of course, we Pacific Division teams, we do love a play-in. Right, so the team that finishes 1st, we know they're through. So, in the Pacific Division first round matchups, or play-ins, I will call them, the team that finishes second in the standings plays the team that finishes 7th. The team that finishes 3rd plays the team that finishes in 6th. The team that finishes in 4th plays the team that finishes in 5th. And obviously, with those 3 matches, just get reseeded going in. And then after that, it's basically just straightforward. Division semis, best of 5. Division final, best of 5. Commons finals, best of 7. Calder Cup final, best of 7. So yeah. So the only difference with the Calder Cup playoffs this year is that you've got an extra round. It's either a first round or play-in, what you'll call. I'm going to refer to it as play-in, but you can call it whatever you like, to determine, basically give more teams a chance to get in. But here's my concern. With 23 teams being allowed to compete, I think for me it sort of dilutes the playoff race. Because playoff races are always exciting and, of course, nerve-wracking. Because obviously, if you're one of those teams that's in a position where you think, oh no, I've got this many left, or can I afford to lose that many, otherwise I'm going to go home. It's always nerve-wracking, especially in the NHL, when they start not posting out news articles on NHL.com say, here are today's clinch alerts, and you're thinking, don't want to know that! I'd rather just know about what my team's doing and just be done with it! But yeah. So, playoff races over the years, they have become exciting, but also nerve-wracking at the same time. So, we're having 23 in. Now, of course, we currently have 31 teams. That's soon to become 32. But let's just focus this season. 31 teams. 7 are not going to go to the postseason. Oh, no, sorry. 8. Oh, my God. What is with me in the mental maths today? Honestly, I can't do it. Mental maths, I was never much wrong, but honestly, it's messing with my head today. Oh, so right. Right. 8 teams, sorry. 8 teams won't qualify for the postseason this year. That's not as many as the normal, would say, potentially 16 we are used to seeing always qualify. I just think it sort of dilutes the playoffs a bit, because if you have more teams going to go in for a shot of making it, then really the playoff races I don't think are very much that exciting, because teams are going to, instead of now teams focusing to get in, they're going to be focusing more on which position they're going to try to get, because some teams now might choose to try and play to get, say, maybe second or third, so that we're guaranteed, at least for this first round, not to play a team that we know could beat us, or some teams may jostle to try and get the lower end, so they can get a good draw for the play-in or first round match, and so they can at least say, we got into the postseason. I think it's going to change the way some teams take the season, because obviously, as I've said at the beginning of the show, as long as you don't come in the bottom 2 slots, so for the Atlantic that's 7 and 8, for the North and Central that's 6 and 7, and for our division, the Pacific Division, that's 8 and 9. So as long as you don't come in those 2 spots, you're good. You know? And so I think some teams, maybe, when we get towards the later stretch of the season, so maybe around about end of February, because we know the NHL is not having an Olympic break, although I will be. So maybe towards end of late February, going to beginning of March, some teams may start to think, right, it's not long to go now, I've got probably about roughly a month left to play. We're probably in a good spot. We don't need to, try and push the boat to get into a playoff spot over us to then falter in the playoffs. That, I think, is going to be my main concern. I just wonder if some teams are going to maybe play a bit too safe when we get to the latter stretch, because obviously they realise now that obviously because there's less work to get into the postseason, we don't have to worry about throwing or everything at it to try and get in, because as long as we don't come bottom 2, we're fine. So that's my only problem with expanding the Calder Cup playoffs. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, it's great. Maybe it could have been, I don't know, so maybe not 23. I don't know what number I would have done, because you've got to work out how this works when it comes to the matchups. I mean, 16 is sort of the golden number, because that fits in brilliantly. And so when you try to add more to the mix, even if it's just for a play-in, it then gets messed to work. Well, how does that work when it comes to sorting up the bracket, the playoff bracket? I mean, they've done well to manage it for this year, but what happens next year if you decide, right, we'll add one more in, because obviously there's now 32 in, so we'll just make 8 the cut-off, so 8 teams don't qualify. I don't know. Could you go away with 22? Or, say, 20 maybe? I think at least 20 should have been the minimum they expanded it to. 23, I think maybe pushing the boat a little bit. But that's only because obviously we've got odd numbers still. And of course, 20 to 23, we should be getting Palm Springs. So that's going to throw a little spanner work. Obviously, you've got to work out how to sort out the divisions. And then do you then start, right, well, Palm Springs come in, let's add the number up to 24, or maybe we can work it now, so even though maybe take it down a bit. I just don't know, but I just feel that for the NHL, the playoff races are not really going to be that exciting unless you're the team that's in, say, 7th place, 6th place, or 8th place, depending on what division you're in. I think that's what the first race is going to be. It's going to be between the team that's the last qualifying spot and the team that's in the spot below. That's where I think the playoff race is going to be, because the team below is going to try and throw everything to get in, whereas the other team's going to maybe relax a bit. So yeah, so I see pros and I see cons into expanding the playoffs, but I think we need to have at least give it a go. And especially, obviously, because obviously it would have been when we get to 2022, so we get to April the 24th, it will be 3 years since we last had a full-blown postseason tournament. Obviously, our division this year had that little mini tournament, but oh my, did it went in the blink of an eye. It literally was like a flash. So there was sort of a postseason tournament this year for the NHL. It wasn't a full-blown one. And of course, that one we had to do, it was just to determine who was going to win our division title. So it will be 3 years since we last had a full-blown playoff tournament. So I think it's a good idea to say, oh, we're welcoming the playoffs back with a bang. Yes, brilliant way. But maybe the playoff races to get into them aren't going to be as exciting as we've seen in the past, because some teams are going to maybe feel, oh, we're in a good spot here. We've got a good healthy cushion over a couple of other teams. We don't need to play as hard as we probably would normally do down the far stretch, because we know we've definitely got playoff hockey coming up. Whether we're one of those teams that gets a bye, or one of those teams goes to that first round, play-in, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. So I think that's my only fear. That is my only really sort of major fear, is that the races to get in probably aren't going to be as exciting as they normally would be, because a large majority of the field are going to be in a position where they feel comfortable that they're not going to maybe be caught by teams at the bottom end, and they can maybe just sort of relax a bit and conserve their energy going into the playoffs. And that actually might make the particularly the early stages, so the division portion of the Calder Cup, so the semi-finals and to buy-offs for the division, they may now be a bit more tighter, because some teams haven't really thrown the tank in to get in. They thought, right, we can play safe a bit, conserve some energy, and they might have more in the tank come to the division semi-finals, and so those division semi-finals might actually go a bit further distance, because we're not normally used to seeing them going the full length. Some do, but with the division semi-finals, they don't normally go into the full length of the whole five. But maybe in 2022 they could do, because some teams will have conserved their energy, having not needed to go for broke in the late half of the season to get in, because they know they're already in, and so they'll still have quite a lot of energy left in the tank, and so they might feel, well, got more energy left, and we can maybe compete a bit more than we would No idea. So maybe, the playoff races won't be as exciting. The playoff matches themselves could be that bit more exciting because teams will have more energy to compete in the division semifinals and division finals, and those 2 rounds could be a bit more exciting. So let's consider this and this process, like I said. But I think, all in all, I think it's going to be great that we are looking at ways to expand the playoffs so more teams can get in. But everyone's going to have their opinion on what that number should be. I mean, 16, of course, is the golden number because it easily fits the bracket. You can easily create a player bracket out of 16. Any more than 16, you start to think, oh, how's this going to work with the bracket? Now, for the NHL's match, a good way to accommodate that for this year, but going forward, what's that going to be like? And I think maybe this is going to be a year in, year out argument. Every year, everyone's going to be arguing about, what about the playoff tournament thing? Should it be this team? So I think we're now going to see more arguments when it comes to the playoff format, because there is actually no perfect solution to get more teams in whilst trying to get it all done by end of June. There you go. But yeah, so I actually am excited. It's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. So now, over to you, my dear listeners, my dear viewers. I want to get your thoughts. Let me know in the comments or give me an email by my Gmail. I'd love to hear from you. Get your thoughts there. And also, before we go, don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, you can do so wherever you'll get your podcast with cards. Until next time, also let me say it, and so I'll leave you now. Well, thank you for joining us for another amazing video. To see more, check out our most recent upload here, or why not check out that featured playlist. And don't forget to subscribe. What are you waiting for? I highly recommend it.